Okay. Hi, fifth grade. I hope everything is going well. I hope you're doing okay. I'm going to try and take us on a virtual tour of the Revolutionary War Museum. I have never been to this museum, so I don't know if I'm going to have a lot of commentary. I'll try and read you some of the descriptions and take you through the gallery of the part that leads up to the Revolutionary War. I'm going to do my best. This is my first Zoom recorded virtual tour, so bear with me. Yeah. Okay, so let me share my screen. And there we go. Okay. Yeah. So we are at the beginning of this tour, Becoming Revolutionaries, and it says New York City, July 9th, 1776. And this is an equestrian statue of George III, King of Great Britain. So let's zoom in a little bit here. So it says map of lands controlled or claimed by Great Britain in 1763. And you all have been studying this, so you're probably very aware of which lands were owned by Great Britain. Let's go over here. So this is just saying how much power Great Britain had during this time in 1763. Can't quite read that to you guys. Let me see. Oh. So it says in 1763, many British Americans were proud to be part of the most powerful empire since ancient Rome. In that year, a peace treaty between Britain, France, and Spain ended the 7 Years' War, also known as the French and Indian War. This victory gave Britain an empire that stretched around the globe. British flags flew over new territories from India, Africa, and the Caribbean and North America. Okay. So this is again showing the land that Great Britain controlled in the blue. And it's a little bit hard to tell here, but you guys might recognize the shape. I don't know if you can hopefully see my mouse, but that's Michigan. And these are the Great Lakes. So it's Lake Erie. And so this is the land that the Indians were allowed to be on, and then this was the land controlled by the colonists. Okay, there's George Washington. Some other artifacts. That looks like maybe the type of gun they used back then. I don't know what that is. Maybe like a bullhorn. Okay, next gallery. Okay, so let's see if we can zoom in on this a little bit. Okay, so Save Your Money, Save Your Country. It was a movement led by women. As the chief consumers of household goods, women held the power of the purse. When Americans looked for a peaceful way of protesting British taxes, women began to boycott British goods. Town meetings and colonial assemblies formalized these boycotts and covenants to be signed by the people. The Daughters of Liberty ensured that these boycotts worked. Not only did they make decisions as consumers, but many of them began producing homespun alternatives to imports. In 1774, colonial leaders met in Philadelphia for the First Continental Congress and adopted a complete boycott of British goods. This economic pressure, they hoped, would force Britain to alter its policies towards the colonies. Okay, so I think maybe these are some of those different goods. Teapot. Let's keep looking. Influential people of the Revolution. Okay. Let's see, this says, the morning early we were alarmed by the beating of drums and proclamation for the inhabitants to assemble at the Liberty Tree. I think this might be the Liberty Tree. Okay. And then this is sharing different propaganda on both sides. So let me zoom in on this one. Oopsies. So this says no taxation without representation. So that was sort of a slogan of the colonists. And these are, it's kind of hard to see, I think, but different posters of protest, and it has a timeline from 1768 to 1774. I can't really zoom in on that, but these are different posters they had that were propaganda. Okay. So join or die was another one of their slogans to get people to join the revolution. So it says, give me liberty or give me death. Patrick Henry, March 23rd, 1715. I can't see that. So this is, again, sharing more posters and newspaper articles. So it says, colonies support Boston. The ministry could not have devised a more effectual measure to unite the colonies. Old jealousies are removed and a perfect harmony subsists between them. That's Samuel Adams, 1773. We consider the cause of the town of Boston as the common cause of the British America and as suffering in defense of the rights of the colonies in general. Also, this is pretty interesting because these are all different examples of primary sources. So that's like firsthand sources from history instead of like hearing it secondhand, or like an autobiography versus a biography. So that's pretty cool. Let's see if we can read this one. Then it was that the majority of the people said, we will fight for our liberty. Prepare, and then it says preparing for war. And this is about the United Resistance. Okay. Okay, so this exhibit is about Lexington and Concord, and showing some information about the Minutemen. Let's see. Whoever looks upon them as an irregular mob will find himself much mistaken. And these are the weapons they had. They had swords and these old style gun. I forget what they're called. Like, they used gunpowder, and we'll look that up for you guys later. Okay. Bit of a glare on that one. The British regulars. So this is what the British Army was using, and they were called British regulars. Let's see if we can see this. Can't quite tell what that is. Let's go to the next exhibit. A brawl in Harvard Yard. Let's see if I can read this too. Who that was not a witness could imagine that men who came from the different parts of the continent, strongly disposed to despise and quarrel with each other, would instantly become but one patriotic band of brothers. George Washington. There's sort of a reenactment This kind of reminds me of those like settings you guys do to, oh, I'm forgetting the word. Okay, back to that. But when you sort of display something for people to show them in just one picture. Okay, a brawl in Harvard Yard. In the First American Army, troops from New England sometimes fought alongside soldiers recruited from the Pennsylvania, Maryland, and Virginia mountains. At other times, these troops fought each other. 11-year-old Israel Trask saw George Washington leap into one of these fights between American soldiers. The general pulled the men apart and tried to restore order in the camp. So I think this is kind of just saying how people are coming from all over the different colonies and aren't necessarily getting along because they have a lot of differences. So that's George Washington pulling apart different people in this army. Okay. So these are different artifacts. Again, the drum they had in the British Army. Let's do a little rotation here. This is Boston, 1775. There's George Washington. The American troops or the colonists against the British. Let's see. So this is different rifles and weapons that the colonists would use. Some of the people some of the men who lived in, it says Maryland and Virginia had. So just an ordinary shirt and whatever they already had probably. It says Revolution, everything changed in 1776. I think we'll stop there. If you guys want to check out the rest of this museum, you guys, I will send the link to Miss Gleason and Miss Slaughter, and they can send it out to you. Since you're still studying the events leading up to the Revolutionary War, I don't want to go into the full museum yet, but maybe see how this goes. And thanks for bearing with me through my first virtual tour. Have a great day or night or whenever you are watching this. I hope you all are doing well. Send in my best. Okay.